Well, let's get to our conversation. We have two very important conversations today. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is considering offloading its state-owned refinery after years of costly rehabilitation efforts that have yielded limited results. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL, Mr. Bayo Ojulari, disclosed that the company was reassessing entire refinery strategy and may take a different direction following a comprehensive internal review expected to be concluded by the end of 2025. Mr. Ojulari spoke during an interview with Bloomberg with regards to the sidelines of the Ninth Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries International Seminar in Vienna, where he described the ongoing overall of Nigeria's aging refineries as increasingly complex and fraught with technical setbacks. Despite a $3 billion investment approved between 2021 and 2023 to revive the Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries, much of the expected progress has been stalled. Well, let's talk to Professor Emeritus in Petroleum Economics, Emmanuel Egboha Foundation in Abuja, Professor Omowumi Iledare. He joins me via Zoom for this conversation this afternoon. Prof, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining the show. All right, let's try to connect with Professor Iledare now. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Professor Iledare. Stay with us.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to journalists' hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists' Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays, 1:30 p.m.
Good morning, Marina Station and all the passengers.
Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing congestion and emission.
The trains are a long-term solution to Lagos traffic challenges.
This is where we take the final, decisions on policies, programs of government. I will have to ensure that, the narration of Lagos as a PLC is taken very, very seriously.
This is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyingo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call a permanent solution.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe is achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadini. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
All right, thank you for staying with us. I have Professor Omowumi Iledare, who is a professor emeritus in petroleum economics and at the Emmanuel Egboha Foundation in Abuja. Thank you, Prof. I think I have you in now. How are you today, Prof? Prof, if you can hear me, let's get straight to the conversation and talk about the refineries. The GCE of the NNPCL is talking about selling these refineries at this point. I am worried because of the investment that has gone down into these refineries. I'm aware of AFDB's $1.5 billion a few years ago invested into this refinery. Why are we now getting to the point of saying we want to sell it off?
Well, thank you again for having me. And so I apologize. Everything was working well before. But let's not pay attention on the time. Let's look at the issue at stake. First, let me come clearly to say NNPC has the right to look at their assets and do a portfolio analysis of their assets, including pipelines, including OMLs, and including their refineries. And they have the right to find the combination that will increase their assets. So there's no doubt about their right to do that. However, my point of argument is the issue is not necessarily the timing and when to sell, but the strategic reason and the purpose of selling. And that's why I'm not in any way opposed to selling the refineries. But I want NNPC Limited to understand that the refineries in Nigeria are strategic assets that have underperformed many years. So there has to be a step-by-step review of what to do with assets that are not adding value. And it must not be sentimental. It must be strategic. And so if time allows us, we then look at all the options they must put on the table. The important thing is for NNPC board to be transparent, to be apolitical, and to be driven when they come to the point of selling the refineries. I have many reasons to believe that they should not sell it unless there are economic reasons. I do not want a sale that is based on sentimental, because we've been there before. We are still struggling to be able to get private efficiency of the power sector that we sold in haste and to wrong buyers. So transparency, accountability, and commerciality, reward, is what I'm advocating.
Interesting, Prof. Let's take it a step further from there, because these refineries, I hope you can hear me, Prof.
I'm hearing you, please.
Now, these refineries, for some Nigerians, we thought when they come on stream, we won't have a monopoly in the industry, and it could help us address the pricing, particularly of PMS, petrol. But now that we are at this point, what sort of options are you giving the NNPCL? You talked about a hybrid model, some of public-private partnership, or something like based on concessional consistency. And can you tell us more about what this is?
All right. Let us try to separate ownership from operations.
Okay.
I am not going to be asking NNPC to continue to operate the refinery if they do not have the capability. So if we separate ownership from operations, if we look at the operation component, it could be concessionaire to someone who still thinks there's value in that asset, and the government can keep the ownership. You have that in the upstream. There are assets that are owned by different individuals, but they are not the one operating it because of technical inadequacy. That's one thing. NNPC also could think in terms of ownership to what we call private-public partnership. And you have examples in Nigeria. Look at everybody wrote Indorama off in the petrochemical industry in LMA. Today, it is adding value. So I think the mistakes were made in the past. And I don't want the new board to make the same mistake. I continue to advocate for the need to be apolitical in their decision-making. Otherwise, some of the board members have some of us to answer to it, because we put at stake what I call, even though we may not be worth much in Nigerian space, but we put a professional recognition on land in our support for them. Let them do the needful. There's nothing that says they cannot do portfolio management. Now, let me quickly come to the operational aspect and the implication of NNPC folding up and the PIA intent for competitive downstream may be compromised if they do not let go of that asset appropriately. And that's why I take, even though I'm a supporter and someone who celebrates Dangote, I personally distaste the conclusion that he puts in the paper that NNPC refineries may never work. That could compromise the value that NNPC could even get from the asset if they want to sell it. And again, I don't blame Dangote, because he sees that if NNPC refineries become operational, its anti-competitive tendency will be delimited. So this is an NNPC board decision, because it is about whether NNPC wants to be vertically integrated or not. The original intent of the commerciality of NNPC in the PIA is vertical integration. And we need to move away from violating the commerciality intention of NNPC Limited.
Prof, that really is a good one, because I was going there that recently Mr. Dangote says those refineries may not work again. And after that, we are hearing NNPC say we might just have to sell out this refinery. So I was also worried about what that means. But moving forward, as it is, because I'm worried about investments that have gone into those refineries and expectations of Nigerians. In straight terms, what would you want to be done practically? And there are also calls on the other side to review the Petroleum Industry Act just 4 years after passage. Is that not also worrisome?
Well, again, I am really, let me say what I would like NNPC to do. I do not want them to be sentimental. And that's why I continue to appeal to the GCEO. The press is actually misquoting the intent of your remark. So perhaps you need to change the style. That would be my first recommendation to him. You don't see Total, MD, Total, Shell, MD, speaking about the operational intention in the newspapers. Yes, the public has the right to know. That's why he has a communication director. So I would like them to have a review internally from an economic point of view and from a strategic point of view, recognizing that they have intergenerational implications in whatever decision that they make now. At times, you have to sacrifice the privileges of today for the sake of a sustainable long-term objective. NNPC Limited remaining vertically integrated is key to the operational efficiency, not minding some of the errors and missteps that were made in the past, not doing the right thing the right way. And that's my concern. Sales can be on the table, but ownership can still remain on the table, and what I call concessionaire can be on the table, or private-public partnership, just looking at Indorama. Because you see Rivers State has a 10% equity. in Endorama, and they are adding value and expanding their margin. And the key, and because I want us to have more conversation on the PIA review that people are agitating, my major concern is NNPC Limited not doing the needful when it comes to reorganization. Irrespective of where anybody comes from in Nigeria, if they are competent, they should put them in the right place. That is the number one problem that is making inefficiency to continue to affect the refineries that we have in Nigeria. Put round pegs in a round hole and put to them key performance indicators instead of sentimentalism over the pages of the newspaper. They are misquoting the GCU, I hope. Because there is even an expression of interest that I saw recently. If anybody is interested to partner with NNPC to run their refinery. And I told you before, my hometown in Louisiana, we have a refinery there that is almost 200 years old and is still functioning. Just get the right people, transparent, accountability, excellency in governance.
Let's wrap up with the PIA now. You said you have a lot to say around that, but that's our point. Let's wrap it up on that note. The PIA, your take on that.
Listen, it took Nigeria 20 years to get a PIA, and they are not patient to implement it effectively. First, and let me condole Nigeria for the passing of President Buhari. There's one thing you can credit him for. The PIA became the law under him. Unfortunately, the implementation was hijacked. And that's why 4 years later, the effectiveness of it is compromised. Yeah, I know some people would not like me to say this. Listen, you cannot use 7 years to prepare to be mad. And after the first year of your madness, you say you have accomplished. So what I'm suggesting is, let us go and review the implementation steps that was taken in the previous administration. What are these implementation missteps? One, the appointment process was compromised. Two, the board that was supposed to be what I call the oversight. It's not the National Assembly that should be the oversight of the operation of the regulatory institution. It is the board of directors that are supposed to do that. You don't have them. And then you are tweaking the provisions in the law, sending another wrong signal to the investors that we are back to an uncertainty regime. So don't tweak the law. Retrace the implementation strategy. You have the opportunity very soon. But you still have 2 years of the board term that you have not appointed. Appoint the board. Don't sideline the Ministry of Petroleum. Take the policy. You see, the reason why you don't want the executive to be in charge of a policy institution is to avoid compromise. Because majority of the people in the presidency are political appointees. When you are gone, there's no sustainability of what was done. Don't sideline the policy institution, which is the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Equip them. And let me commend the PTDF. They're trying to equip the professionals in the ministry. You need them for policy sustainability. And then the regulatory institutions, they need oversight. And that's why there's this separation of role between the regulators, the policy institution, and the commercial institutions. When they don't have board of directors, There's no oversight to what they are doing. So you can tweak all of those laws the way you want. You are going to be back to square one because you do not have governance oversight.
Yeah.
And I'll continue to advise the president to do that. Otherwise, all of this effort that is making will lead to nowhere because the regulatory institutions have no oversight. They are being managed by the management team without a board. And to ask the minister to take charge is a violation of the PIA entirely. Because the minister is not the chairman of the board of directors of the commercial institution and the regulatory institutions. And finally, on this PIA, let NNPC alone. Let the board take the decisions because they are now liability complete. If they fail, the management team, if they fail, the board can fire them. They are not political appointees. They are professionals. Please stop tweaking the PIA provisions. Do the needful by obeying the law. Whoever is in charge, I don't know. That's just a Professor Emeritus opinion. If I can put that.
All right, then. It's always interesting, Prof, having you discuss issues around the oil and gas industry, and there's never enough time to have you break all of this down. But thank God we're able to still get this from you today. Professor Iledare is a Professor Emeritus in Petroleum Economics, Emmanuel Egboga Foundation, Abuja. Thank you so much, Prof. Have a great week, and I'm sure we'll have you in again soon.
Anytime. Thank you, Tolu, for inviting me. And like I said, I don't represent anybody. I represent myself.
I know that, Prof.
My opinion and my opinion.
All right, Prof. Thank you so very much. Well, still to come on the show,